Hello, I'm Curtis A. Routley, and I'd like to thank you for coming to the Running Prophecy channel and joining me in my series. This is lesson number 6, Unifying Revelation's Sevens. How the seal, trumpet, and vial judgments of the book of the Revelation come to life. I'm a believer that a good visual aid ends a lot of confusion and eliminates a lot of useless discussion. So let me present you with a good chart today, and I will use it to take you through the seal, trumpet, and vial judgments of the book of the Revelation. Here we go. In Revelation chapters 6 and 7, we have 7 seals of judgments that are opened. Then in Revelation 8, 9, and 10, we have 7 trumpets of judgment that are blown. And in Revelation chapter 16, we have 7 vials or bowls of the wrath of God that are poured out upon the world. And the things that are included in the descriptions make people of this generation think that none of them has happened yet because they are so severe in their judgments upon this planet and the men that walk upon it. Now, the first 4 seals are called the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And the actions are taking place. The first one goes out to conquer. The second one goes out to take peace. The third one brings famine, and the fourth one brings pestilence. With the fifth one, the souls under the altar before the temple and the throne of God ask the question, how long before all these things are going to be taken care of and finished? And the 6th seal is the day of wrath, where the great, the poor, the buyers, the sellers, the lenders, everybody is saying to the mountains and to the hills, fall on us, for the great day of the wrath of the Lamb of God is come, and who is able to stand? And I ask a good question, if the wicked know how to call it by its right name, why don't the Lord's people know it by its right name yet? When have you ever heard a teaching on the day of wrath? And then you have, in seal 7, the judgment taking place. Now, between seal 6 and seal 7, at the end of the day of wrath, this planet is totally destroyed. Every mountain and every island flees, and it can't be found anymore. And if you can't find any mountains or islands, you can't find the planet anymore either. This heaven and this earth perish before the judgment sits, because the judgment does not take place upon planet Earth, but it takes place in the presence of God. And then we come to the trumpet judgments. And we read things like 1/3 of the trees and all the grass are destroyed. And I remembered a promise God made to Noah in Genesis chapter 8, verse 21. I will never again curse the ground on account of man. Well, if God is cursing the ground here because he's destroying 1/3 of the trees and all the grass, then he's broken his word. Or what's being called the tree and grass in the book of the Revelation is not the natural event of the planet. A tree is defined as being a nation, so 1/3 of the trees means 1/3 of the nations. And you have all the grass. In Job chapter 5, verse 25, offspring is called grass. So if the trees are destroyed and they have no offspring, that there's nothing that's going to come forth from them anymore, 1/3 of these nations and their territory left nothing for posterity or for the future to bring back into existence. And the second trumpet, we have 1/3 of the creatures in the sea dying, when something like a great mountain burning with fire is hurled into the sea, into the earth. Now, like a great mountain is a turn on the words of Daniel chapter 2, verse 35, where the stone was cut out from the mountain without hands, and it flew through the air, and it struck the image on its 10 toes, and it made the image like chaff on a summer threshing floor, and the wind blew it away so that the image could not be found any more. And then something happened to that stone. First, it became a great mountain. And at a later point in time, it expanded until it filled the whole earth. The great mountain is the messianic kingdom over the nation of Israel. The like a great mountain was what the devil was trying to set up and establish in heaven. And when there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels waging war with the devil and his angels, the devil's property was kicked out of heaven. A house cleaning was done and accomplished, and everything that the devil was building in heaven was destroyed and cast out of heaven to this earth. And then you have like a great star falling to the earth. And the name of the star was Wormwood, and the waters became bitter because of the star. Because bitterness in the form of the devil himself, who is the great star, because a star is defined as being an angel in Revelation 1:20, and the great angel that was kicked out of heaven was the devil himself. And then you have the fourth one that brings in pollution, a pollution so great upon the planet that 1/3 of the power of light is reduced, and you cannot see as clearly. It's not that the day was shortened by 1/3. It's that the ability of the eye to see as far as John knew he could see in the time when he walked the planet, to what he could see in this vision that he was relating, he could only see 2/3 as far. So he's saying 1/3 of the power of the light has been reduced in the way of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And so the visibility to see them wasn't there anymore because of the pollution that was in the atmosphere and in the air. And with the fifth trumpet came like a locust upon the earth. Now in the last lesson I taught you that the locusts were man's modern means of land transportation, the car, the truck, the train, the plane. And since the car, the truck, the train, and the plane are here, I say that the fifth trumpet has already sounded. That means trumpets 1, 2, 3, and 4 have sounded as well, and no one has heard a thing or understood a thing, because they're looking for everything yet to come, and they have no clue how it could have already been passed. Trumpet number 6 brings in the Battle of Armageddon, where 200 million men destroy 1/3 the population of the world. And then you have trumpet number 7, which ushers in the resurrection by which the Lord himself removes all the dead in Christ from the planet. And then that brings us to the vial and bowl judgments of the wrath of God. The first one being poured out brings forth a noisome and malignant sore upon those that have the mark or worship the beast. The second one is poured out on a sea. A sea stands for a nation. What nation was God so angry with that he was willing to completely obliterate it from the face of the earth? The third vial tells us, when all the rivers that flowed into the sea are made bloody and dried up, so that there's no more water flowing into the sea. There's no more Jews saying, next year in Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is no more, the temple is no more, Israel is no more. And all the population has either been killed or dispersed to the rest of the world. And the souls under the altar that ask this question, how long, are saying, yea, Lord, worthy and true are you to bring forth this judgment upon them, for they shed the blood of the prophets and killed them. And then vials 4 and 5 are poured out, and they produce fierce heat and great pollution. And I say that the fierce heat and the great pollution is what is caused by the atomic bomb going off over the land of Israel. And from Daniel chapter 12, this occurs on day 1290. So the atomic bomb brings forth the fourth and the fifth vials of the wrath of God upon the nation of Israel. And then again, with the sixth vial, you have the battle of Armageddon. And it's interesting that Jesus says, I come as a thief before the battle of Armageddon takes place. And no one in the world is looking for Israel's Messiah to be coming back to this planet. They think the great escape clause is in effect and all the believers are going to be taken off the planet and everyone else left behind is going to have all their times of trouble. And then with the seventh vial or bowl of the wrath of God, we have again the day of wrath. Now you can see that seal 6 ushered in the day of wrath, and vial 7 is ushering in the day of wrath. So seal 6 and vial 7 have got to be at exactly the same time. Likewise, the sixth trumpet brings the battle of Armageddon, and the sixth vial of the wrath of God also brings the battle of Armageddon. So Armageddon in the trumpet and vial judgments cannot be taking place in the manner it's currently thought of, where all the seals take place in order, then all the trumpets take place in order, and then all the vials of the wrath of God take place in order. That can't be. If the fifth trumpet has already blown, then the seal, trumpet, and vial judgments have got to be interlocked into a sequential chain of events that bring them all in their proper order. The first 3 vials of the wrath of God are the first things that happened, and Israel was destroyed as a nation. In Luke 19, verse 27, the Lord said, "Where are these worthless men who refuse to be ruled by me? Bring them into my presence and slay them." And so Israel was destroyed as a nation when that generation passed. And they died because they did not accept that Jesus was their Messiah, that he fulfilled everything that was required of Israel's Messiah to do as Messiah the Prince before he comes as Messiah the King. That's interesting wording. When Daniel chapter 9 verse 26 said that Messiah the Prince would be cut off and have nothing, what does God have to do for the dead Messiah the Prince to make him become the living Messiah the King? He's got to raise him from the dead. And that is exactly what he did. There's only one man that's ever been raised from the dead without the help of any other man. His name was Jesus, and he was a Jew. Now in the next lesson, I'm going to take you and combine the seal, trumpet, and vial judgments that we've just gone through today and unite them with Daniel's chapter 12 timeline. And I'm going to put them in the order in which I see them occurring so that you'll have a better understanding of what's taking place with the seal, trumpet, and vial judgments of the book of the Revelation. Until then, God bless you, and know that running prophecy is the place where it's at, where His word is happening and understandable.